first violent film Jubilee Project has ever made. In this one we have punching, stealing, killing, cops, everything, drugs. Taking Jubilee Project to the next level with this film. We still believe that doing good is contagious though. Still for a good cause.
Action.
The story of the prodigal son has always been, I grew up listening to this story at church, but it never really hit me until I started making this film.
Prodigal Son is such a profound story and something that I could really relate with.
It's probably one of the most intimate passages of scripture in all the Bible. And what you have is a son who is pretty arrogant, and he says, give me in my inheritance, or give me what I deserve. And so when he said that, in the Mid-Eastern culture, he was basically saying, I wish you were dead, so just give me the money.
Just a problem child, a kid who, is ashamed of his father, would rather go out and try to live his own way, so he rebels, steals all his dad's money.
What's crazy is the father gave him the inheritance, knowing probably that the son would squander all the wealth. And then the son, of course, goes off and he lives this crazy life. Just takes, wastes all the money.
Just really lives in the world and ends up finding that it's a pretty cold place.
The turning point in the film is when the son reaches this utter sense of hopelessness. When he's got nothing left, he's spent all of the money, and there's nothing in this world that satisfies him. And it's when he's in this deep sense of pain that he starts to let go of this need for what the world tells him to have.
And so this is that part where he knows inside that he has to make a change for the better, or a better life, or a different life, and leave the one that he's been doing behind.
And he said it'd be better if he goes back home. And he goes back home broken. And so you see him totally open and obedient to his father. But what was cool was the father saw his son from afar, and I love the picture of this like Mid-Eastern Asian type of dad running towards his son. And then it says he embraces him and he kisses him. And this is the most powerful verse to me, is that the word kiss is used over and over again, or it's in the iterative sense. So it's like he kissed him over and over and over and over again. It's showing this blessing, this grace to his son.
3.1E, take one.
This is one where I really was able to connect to the character. The Prodigal Son story is like, one of the most popular stories ever. A lot of people can relate to it.
We've all been there, I guess, where we've kind of been the son and the father.
I can relate to the role of the prodigal son, just having that stage of rebellion and just not like realizing how much their parents love them and always wanting something else, and then finding out that that something else is not good anyways.
My parents divorced when I was a teenager, when I was about 15, and it was a result of an affair my dad had. And so I hated my dad. In fact, I didn't want to talk to him, and I didn't for a long time. And so I kind of spiraled out of control, where I just partied and I did my own thing. So, fast forward some, I still had problems with my dad. I'd given my life to God. I was supposed to be like this now Christian guy that really loves God, but I had this like hatred for my father. I had this judgment against him. Even though myself, I've done crazy, stupid things, I couldn't see that. I just saw his sin. And so that dominated me until one night I was walking across the campus as a college student, and I thought I heard a voice saying, "You need to love your father." I said, I don't think I can, because I have no feelings for him. And I felt God say, do you think my son felt like going to the cross? And then I got it. I said, love is not about a feeling. Love is about a commitment. It's not about me liking a person necessarily. It's about me committing myself to one.
against the ground, and you turn them, you grab, and you just rough them up against the wall. Yeah, this wall right here. That one right there. You know, it took me about 1.5 years to make this film, and I kind of wrote it when I was a very different person than I am today. And I think the main difference between then and now was that I started to understand what it means to receive grace. Throughout my whole life, you know, I've always lived under this belief that the harder I worked, the more I'm able to achieve, and then the more happy I'm able to become. And so I worked hard. I went to a great college at Harvard University. I achieved my American dream by working at the White House. You know, I was living a very comfortable life, and yet there was still something empty about this whole thing. And that no matter how hard I tried to put up this front, to put up this image that everything was all put together, deep down inside, I realized I still felt like life was still very meaningless to me. And no matter how much harder I worked or harder I tried, there was still this very strong void in my life. I felt so depressed. I felt so exhausted. And I hit the rock bottom of my life. And there was one night where I just felt completely hopeless, to the point where I thought about taking my own life. During that season of depression, I was diagnosed with a disease called hepatitis B. And when I first found out about it, I was in utter shock. You know, I felt so paralyzed by this understanding, that this realization that the great Eddie Lee, the great person that I thought I wasn't really as great as I really was. And it was in that moment of revelation that I started to see that my life was only so temporary, that I am weak, that I am broken, that I am full of sin, that there is nothing in me that is inherently or innately deserves His love. But He gave it to me anyways. It was only in this moment of weakness that I start to finally understand what the power of the Father's love really means to us. It's the most powerful expression of love that you can ever experience. And action. Cue Dave.
I really believe that this story, Luke 15, isn't really about the Son. It's really all about the Father. It's about how loving and gracious He was to this rebellious son.
The interesting thing about the story is that, you know, we focus on the son's journey and we see his suffering. We see the fact that he becomes homeless and loses all of his money. But what we don't see is that the father is also suffering in this film.
Of course, he's a loving father, and it tears him up inside just watching his son destroy himself.
The reason why the father's pain is so important is that the son only realizes the father's love by acknowledging the father's pain.
What a father can give for his son in order to teach him a life lesson. We don't realize it until later on, but you know, the whole life journey is to find ourselves through our hardships.
I made a lot of mistakes in life, and it's good to know that no matter how many mistakes you make, you know, there's always somebody who's willing to still accept you and forgive you, and that I'm lucky enough to have been given like second chances over and over again.
You know, what makes the story so powerful is the reality that at the end of the day, the son never really did anything to earn his father's love. But the father chose to love his son and to die for his son because his love for him was really unconditional. It's the expression of love of Jesus on the cross. It's an expression of selflessness, a selfless love that is seemingly foolish in the eyes of many, but truly radical and truly life-changing. And you know, what we hope that people will take away from this film is this idea that that love is available to them, and that when we're able to experience that love, even just touch a piece of that love, your life will be forever changed.
I'm not going out of fight!
Yeah, I know how to take care of babies. No.
We're gonna have to make a cameo in every Jubilee Project video. Do that. And you got the look.
This is strange.
That was good. That was good.
Okay. Yes. The Prodigal, Jubilee Project.
We're very excited to announce a national tour in 2014 to premiere some of our upcoming videos. And on this tour, we'll also be sharing our personal story behind Jubilee Project and what inspires us to do what we do.
That's right. So if you want updates on the tour, or if you want us to come to your school or your church during this 2014 tour, please sign up at this link. We hope to hear from you soon, and JP Love.